Welcome to partialarc.com. Don't do that.
In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. And a lot of weird shit. Roll to seize!
Welcome to Roll to Seize. This is episode 27. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and I'm joined by my co-host and Warhammer enthusiast, Andrew Dickinger. Hello, and oh no. Now, you weren't sniffing demon dust again, were you? God damn it. Just hold still. I'm going to take this bucket of souls and splash it in your face.
I mean, Jay, that was unnecessary. I'm used to it now. I've adapted
Hold
to
on,
the
you've got a
demon
ghost
dust.
still just hanging on the back. Get out of here. Move on.
Gross. Jeez.
See, this is why I have to keep a bucket of souls around, because you do this.
How do you get a bucket of souls exactly?
I don't want to go into the specifics, all right? I've got a guy. I use the CSPS.
I don't really want to know who this guy is and where he gets these souls, Jay. I think he may be a chaos drug dealer.
What? No, he's a nice guy.
Dude, they get high on souls.
We hang out afterwards sometimes. What?
They get high on souls, man. They eat souls.
What, really? You telling me Man, I've got a lot of these buckets of souls. I probably got to move them out of here. If there's a raid that happens on the Brown Library, I am screwed.
Keep your voice down.
I know. Okay, yeah. So, guys, we want to talk a little bit about some of the rumors we've been seeing.
So, Games Workshop just had a recent tease with a actually fucking awesome video that got everybody pumped.
Oh, yeah.
Genestealer Cult finally getting their book.
Yeah, instead of just like a weird thing in like a white dwarf.
Yeah, like a single formation that
Yeah.
they got. I mean, not only is this a dream come true for a lot of people that have been playing them since like 2nd edition.
Yeah, 2nd edition cults.
Yeah, so because they came out a while ago, but they have shown they are going to be getting at least a ground vehicle, some kind of transport,
which is crazy. So they're
and
gonna
it's
have
got wheels.
Yeah, I guess it's like their version of a looted tank, essentially.
I've heard that it's actually based off of the Adeptus Arbitus
Ooh.
anti-riot vehicle.
Very cool.
So it's like an think of it as an armored car. It's just an armored car.
Yeah, so if like an orc looted tank is just like less metal, like what is a Genestealer Cult looted tank?
I'm sure it's actually just like a car that they put a bunch of metal on.
Or they just hung a bunch of banners from?
Think like zombie apocalypse. Like how you'd reinforce like a Hummer. Like that's what it is.
They're like, this needs more wooden nails in it. That'll reinforce this armor exterior.
More pokey does mean more killy.
That makes sense. That makes sense to me.
Oh, that's the other thing that was unique is that from what they revealed, not only did they have some really cool sounding weapons and different variations for the unit.
What are some of those weapons?
Oh my god, there's two in particular that I heard and I was like, I must know what these do. One is called the Seismic Cannon.
Which, I mean, we can probably guess is messing with the ground in some way.
It shoots shockwaves at people.
Which sounds awesome.
And then the other one is called the Rock Saw.
I wonder what it does. I'm trying to think. What was it used for before they got a hold of it?
Not rocks.
Not rocks, right?
Well, because the cool thing about the theme of this, just like the theme of the original release, is that this is all based off of a mining colony.
Right.
So
that have
all their stuff is mining.
Things have gone a bit awry in the Rhine.
No, I mean, they just praised the four-armed emperor, you know?
Yeah,
it's all
of course.
good.
Yeah, everything's totally fine.
The whispers in their brain is good thing, Jay. But yeah, I mean, like, those models, though, are fucking gorgeous.
Oh my God, they are.
Actually, I have to say, everything that Games Workshop has released in, like, the last 2 years has been fucking amazing.
Their game has been stepped up to maximum levels.
I mean, even...
Thanks, War Machine?
Yeah, basically.
Thanks, competitors?
And, I mean, like, even the Death Watch were, like...
Oh, yeah.
Fucking... And it's so fluff-based and really cool and, you know, Codex Frag Cannon, so good.
They've really kind of hit their stride with, like, the fan dexes, and it's amazing. So...
I mean, would you have thought 5 years ago that we're not only going to get Harlequins, but 2nd edition Genestealers and Death Watch and all this other stuff? And now I'm hearing, because of what they released in the Battlefield Gothic video game, Demiurge is a thing coming back.
Wow.
Demiurge is
what
fucking...
a deep Warhammer cut.
That is, space dwarves are coming back in some fashion. That means that it's very possible in the future we will actually get an Allies of Tau book.
Wow.
Which would be crazy.
I will wait to believe it when I see it.
Yeah, I mean, that one they've been saying for
a while.
So many years.
But I mean, at this point, we have to believe something like that's probably coming.
Well, and the fact that, like, you know how they have all their IPs connected and everything, and one of their IP video games had this unit in it.
Yeah, I mean, that is a pretty good indicator.
I'm like, they put this in. Like, they can't just, like, have this in one thing. That's not the Games Workshop way.
That'd be an interesting meeting. Like, Games Workshop visits the video game company, and they're like, yeah, this all looks good. Now we have one extra thing we need you to add to this game. And they're like, what does this mean? Nothing. Just add them in there. Just put them front and center, though.
But yeah, I mean, like, this is just, it's an exciting time to be in 40K. You're getting a lot of more fluff-based armies, which is always a good thing.
Games Workshop, high five to you, and just really good things for the community. So guys, now we're going into, of course, our favorite part of our episodes when we talk about how badly we screwed up. Our Seasons of the Month, where Andrew and I will talk about a mistake we made in the previous month at a tournament.
There are many.
Yes. Now, this time Andrew's going to go first.
Ah, fuck you.
That's right, buddy.
So, I'm the best. You go.
Oh, good.
All right. So in the last tournament, it's a sad day. It's a sad day, but I am unfortunately getting rid of my Tau.
Oh no.
It's been, I guess, like 10 years now with that army, but
it's been a long relationship.
I just, like, I'm not feeling them as much anymore, and I'm really actually hardcore getting into orcs, so that's interesting.
The mistress has taken your attention.
Yeah, the
green mistress.
Yeah.
As they like to go by, right? We're the orcs, also known as the green mistress.
The green mistress, yes. I mean, it makes sense.
Right, of course.
But yeah, so we had an interesting tournament in our last tournament at our Common Game Empire 40K scene, where we played Rogue Trader style.
It was so very fun. It was Old Hammer.
Old Hammer, 1,500 points, no super heavies, no Forge World, no named characters, no flyers.
No formations.
No formations.
It was a single CAD, and that's all.
And it was fucking great.
It was so fun.
It was a breath of fresh air.
Guys, if you haven't tried it, and we're not saying to replace the normal way that we play 40K, but give it a try just once, whether you have a tournament organizer, throw the idea out there, or just do it with your friends, you'll see the games went so fast.
Well, and there was so much less bullshit in the game that it was just like, you could just like have fun. You didn't have to really like super think hard, like 8 turns ahead.
Really, the thinking hard, I find, and that was a pretty big way to show it, was like, what does that thing do again? It's like, no, it's a Riptide. It doesn't have like Ripple Fire and like rerolling this, or like, no, it's just a regular Riptide. And you're like, oh, okay. Oh, okay, cool. All right, I know what that does. Awesome.
And so I ran my Tau. The last hurrah with my Tau, I ran my Sniper Drone Team Tau.
Frisbee team, my favorite.
Because they're the super most fun, and no one uses them. I've literally never seen anyone use Sniper Drones, ever.
And you found the most annoying way to use them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you're going to use them, you might as well use 27 of them and then take an ethereal.
Which in, 24-inch range, they have triple fire, basically?
Yes, because everybody forgets that they're 48-inch rapid-fire weapons. So, and the ethereal makes them so with Storm of Fire at half range, they get an extra shot. So that's 27 shots per unit hitting on 2s.
Not bad.
It's pretty good. But it was interesting because even in the first round, we're talking about Old Hammer. I went against a Necron list. What a change it is when everything's not 4+ feel no pain. God. Even Wraiths without reanimation was just like, what is happening?
Like, this is... I killed a Necron model this turn? How is that even possible?
Yeah, it was pretty... interesting.
It's like playing old Nurgle, basically, with that 5-up feel no pain.
Yeah, so it was like that was a nice breath of fresh air, but I do have to talk about a misstep that I did.
Yeah, we do have to talk about how we screwed up. That is the theme.
All right, so in the second mission, it was kind of interesting because there were objectives set up, but essentially the mission would end up at the third turn become a random thing. One of 3 things. It either would become kill points, it would become objectives, or it would become table quarters.
Yeah, because we weren't just playing by like no formations, no super heavies. We actually were playing old missions as well.
Yes, like the Rogue Trader-esque missions, like first edition, second edition missions, stuff like that.
And this was definitely a perfect example of that with just like halfway through the game game, your objectives become clear to you, which is just pure Rogue Trader ridiculousness.
Now, I did something a little foolish. There was a lot. I was playing against an Eldar list, and there was a lot of line of sight blocking cover. But what I should have done, I decided to split my sniper drones up. And the reason I did this is because he got the Infiltrate Warlord trait, which allowed him to basically infiltrate like all of his army.
Yeah, it's pretty good. You get, I think it's 3 units plus the Warlord's
Plus your Warlord.
unit.
So like he had like Fire Dragons infiltrated, and he had like Warp Spiders infiltrated, and he had all this stuff. And like the only way I could see them was to put 1 unit of sniper drones essentially on a far left flank. And I did that because I had first turn, and I was like, well, I could end up doing some damage. But in the long run, that just made them super exposed, because sniper drones are way more resilient when they're in cover, and there was no cover there, so they just had 4+ saves. And they were exposed to like 3 units of scatterbikes, which was just like, okay, they just got blown off the table.
Right,
they killed
yeah.
four fire dragons, and then they all died.
Oh.
Man, I failed so many leadership 10 tests. It's just like insane. But so basically my C's comes down to just a really basic mistake, which was not reading the terrain correctly. Like I should have just been like, well, he still has to have everything come to me. Why don't I just stick everything in this corner? And then if he decides to even try and come for my objective, he basically goes into the kill zone. And instead I tried an Alpha Strike, and it was like the most pathetic Alpha Strike ever, and it did nothing.
We got you. No, oh no, nobody died. Oh, we're all dead.
Well, it was even more priceless because I went for the Fire Dragons. I will clarify, I had no vehicles. They have a 12-inch range.
Yeah.
I don't know what my brain was thinking.
Gosh, what's the real threat here? Well,
Fire
those
dragon.
slow-ass fire dragons on foot, 12-inch range guns. Take them down, boys.
Yeah, it wasn't that smart.
They were bright orange. You know, it's a very distracting and frustrating color for Tau.
Yeah, that was just like so dumb. And right after it happened, and the first turn went, and they were gone, and I killed 4 guys. I was like, he and I kind of just looked at each other and were like, "Why did you do that?" And I was just like, I don't have a good answer for you. Anyways, Jay, what's your C's?
My C's. Well, in this tournament of Oldhammer, it turns out, guys, that when you're playing Oldhammer, the Cloud Strike is pretty good. Pretty good in Oldhammer. The Cloud Strike, if you don't know, is if you take a unit of Falcons, so that's 1 unit with 3 Falcons in it, you get no scatter deep strike, and you can deep strike within 4 inches of each other, so they don't even have to bundle up. And
strong.
you can, if you put 5 fire dragons in each of those Falcons, you can kill a lot of stuff in Oldhammer.
I mean, it sounds like it.
No super heavies, guess what? All your regular big monsters are dying pretty easily, and your tanks. But, so one thing I did find, though, the kryptonite of Cloud Strikes in Oldhammer turns out to be Admech robots.
Kastelan Robots?
Kastelan Robots
My favorite.
are just so damn infuriating. It's so funny because you've, on this podcast, so many times talked about, like, the hilarity of when you reflect shots, when you roll a 6 on their invulnerable save.
It's not just their vulnerable save, it's any save.
It's any save, that's right. And it's just like, man, yeah, that must be frustrating. We've talked about, like, how, like, oh, you can fire, like, a last cannon shot back and, like, you know, do a whole point on a tank. So, boys and girls, I have a story for all of you. My favorite of these stupid robots. So, I'm playing my my Oldhammer Eldar list. It's basically just a slight mod on what I currently have.
Yes.
So, I couldn't do the 3-aspect warrior units because you can only do 3 of each, and the fire dragons take up the same slots as the striking scorpions. So I had to make a hard choice, and I had to lose the striking scorpions.
How dare you?
Yeah, I know. Basically, the army was a bunch of warp spiders, fire dragons in the Cloud Strike, and scat bikes. Because, you know, if you're gonna do an old CAD, I mean, what
basic troops?
Basic troops. I mean, scat bikes are the best for the cost. I mean, you can't really beat it. But essentially, this was the first game I played, and the opponent I played, he was so great, such a great sport. He had a pretty straightforward AdMech list with 2 Kastelan Robot units with Data Smith in each. I think he had 2 Dominuses as well, teamed up with 2 separate Grav units and 1 Haywire unit, all in a nice line, 1,500 points, and we were doing Vanguard Strike. And I set up, I did a pretty good job of keeping out of his 30-inch range, and then turn 2 comes, my Cloud Strike comes in, and I'm like, I got this. These guys are screwed. I'm going to blow these dudes up. It's going to be easy. So I kill a unit of Grav guys. I'm feeling pretty good. There's 2 Kastelan Robots in 1 unit, and I've got, like, most of my list and fire dragons left to fire. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to fire my Falcons first at this Kastelan Robot unit. I fire my pulse lasers, which is strength 8, AP 2, yeah, I think it's AP 2, and I fire at the Kastelan Robots. Only 2 manage to wound. He rolls 2 6s. They reflect back in my Falcons. He rolls 2 5s to penetrate. He penetrates twice. And then he rolls 2 6s and explodes 2 of my 3 Falcons. It was the most insane thing I've ever seen. And I think he rolled like a 6 on the explosion radius and killed almost 2 of the 3 Fire Dragon units. It was the most hilarious and at the same time frustrating moment of the entire game.
You made the number one mistake.
The number one mistake, guys. That is my C's. Do not fire at Kastelan Robots.
Don't fuck with Kastelan Robots.
Don't fuck with Kastelan Robots, guys. Just assault them. Don't shoot high-powered weapons, especially from tanks. Just don't shoot tank weapons at Kastelan Robots. Like regular guys, whatever. Don't shoot tanks at them. It is terrifying and hilarious.
As I said,
It was like magic. I couldn't believe it happened. I'm pretty sure my fire dragons didn't die from the explosion. I think they died from shock. They saw the things fly back and they were like, I don't understand the universe, and their heads just exploded. So that's my C's of the month. If you think something couldn't possibly happen, guess what? It 100% can and will happen to you in a 40K game.
Murphy's Law, man.
Murphy's Law.
What can happen
but
will happen.
It's the Grimdark, so Murphy's Law in the Grimdark universe is like really depressing.
It's fucking horrible.
Like everything that can happen will happen, and with skulls.
Well, just as long as we don't get invaded by Tyrannids right now.
Shit, no, everything is Tyrannids. Yeah, I guess Murphy's Law is mostly about Tyrannids in the 40K universe. Oh god,
I feel like it's one of 3. No, it actually reflects to really 4 things. It's either Tyrannid invasions, chaos incursions, your planet just happening to be in Necron Tomb World, because that can always just happen, or
hey honey, I just went outside and there's a temple underneath our garden,
or just an orc wog, because that's always a possibility.
Yeah, an asteroid just might hit your planet filled with orcs. Who knows? Just happens sometimes.
Yeah, they do love their rocks.
Murphy's Law is brutal in the 40K universe.
It's really awful.
It's one of the chaos gods.
It's just Murphy.
His name is just Murphy, and his law is all powerful.
He has one law.
He has only one law, and you do not want to hear or see it.
It's canon. We have now a
new chaos god, and it's just a guy named Murphy.
Yep,
guys, those are our C's of the month and a weird tangent.
Yeah.
And now we'll be going into our main segment. Let's check out the Brown Library. All right, guys, we're here in the Brown Library, ready to do a little research. Typically, we get our picks either from, we do a random pick for ourselves, or we do a pick from the community. And you guys can go on the Dakadaka forums and vote on what our Brown Library segment will be. So, Andrew, where does our pick come from this episode?
So, as we do, we usually switch off. We'll either have a single unit themed one or like an overarching army themed one. Well, this was more of a single unit themed one. So it's similar to last month's episode with the Dreadnoughts. But this, the end times have come, Jay.
Oh no, is this the prophecy that was foretold?
This is the prophecy that was foretold.
The episode we must do and therefore be the end of us?
I was challenged to possibly the ultimate test.
Oh god. Don't say it. Don't you dare.
So I had to make an army based on the Howling Banshee.
Oh God!
And it gets worse, Jay.
Oh no!
I had to find a way to work in the Avatar.
What?
Yep.
Oh my God!
So
that is just an impossible task.
Well,
that's in one of like the tests that Zench gives you when you get to his domain.
Obviously, I had to make this work.
Obviously.
And
you had to make it work, or you had to try to make it work.
Oh no, I made it work, Jay.
Oh shit.
I made some fucking magic.
Oh my god.
Happen.
The warp is ripping behind him right now.
And all the eyes are on me. This motherfucker.
Oh, what did you just say you could do? Oh, we'll see about that.
But we got the suggestion. I say suggestion. The challenge from...
You mean the gauntlet that was thrown down?
By the user Wild Hunt.
Wild Hunt. Thank you very much for this.
And the reason that he gave it to us specifically is because he actually informed me to something that I didn't know about. So in the fluff, there is a craft world called Libreseal that's entirely based off the Howling Banshee.
Whoa.
Their god is specifically based off of this Eldar god called Morai Heg, which is like a crone that's the god of the underworld, essentially.
Oh, very interesting.
But she's super wise, but she's like the mother of banshees.
Kind of like I remember this old data slate. There's a Norse god called Hela, or sometimes Hel, who's sometimes viewed as like an old, creepy woman.
Yeah, it's like sort of similar to that.
Interesting.
And like she even convinced at one point Kayla mentioned Cain to cut off her hands so that she could drink her own blood and gain the wisdom from it.
Wow, now that is someone you want to go party with, am I right?
Dedication.
Really?
So it's a largely matriarchal society. Like,
very cool.
So the Howling Banshees form the vanguard, but in their like the history or their mythology with this god and everything, and the Howling Banshees coming into be, like they gave a bunch of their female warriors to Morai Hag to basically be her personal guard, and these are like the black Howling Banshees, like they're
cool.
the most elite of elite,
the most badasses of badasses.
And their main enemy is chaos, like they mainly hunt chaos. But
Ooh.
interestingly enough, as far as been chronicled with this craft world, is that they actually purposely defended even Imperial outposts from Dark Eldar. They really don't like Dark Eldar as well.
Wow. Okay.
So, in order to make this work, everybody thinks Howling Banshees and will probably automatically connect to, oh, well, you have to ally in some transports. Well, I'm not...
That's what I would think.
Well, I'm not doing that. For one reason and one reason in particular.
The warp rip behind you is getting wider.
And well, let's think about what happened recently. Games Workshop FAQ. And what was in the FAQ? You cannot board ally transports.
That's true.
Of the game.
That's very true.
And most of the ally transports that you would take are all flimsy, which
Right.
would mean that if you can't start in them, or you can't like get some Dark Eldar in there, which would break the fluff anyway.
I was just about to say,
not going to do that.
Very, very bad for fluff, and we cannot do that here on Roll the Seas.
Yes. So like they were automatically out, and then there's the FAQ that also made them out. So I had to make this a ground-based army, which is automatically interesting.
Yes, interesting is the correct word.
And then also had to involve the Avatar because he has to get into this shit.
Yep, somehow.
Now, one thing I didn't realize, and I don't know why they made this decision, but they made the Avatar Lord of War.
There's a lot of questions to be had about the Avatar and his construction and execution.
So the big focuses we had for this, we had to have a lot of Howling Banshees. We had to somehow make them ground-based, but still make them work. Mm-hmm. And then we have to add in their fluff, but in a way make them able to handle all comers. Now, Banshees actually have far more options than I realized. When I first read their entry and I saw no assault grenades, I got really worried.
Yeah, that's a pretty big worry that a lot of people have about Howling Banshees.
But their ability, Acrobatic, actually bypasses that.
How so?
Acrobatic gives them an added 3 inches to their run and to their charges, and it also makes it so they don't suffer initiative penalties when charging through cover.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so like that's a thing I think a lot of people overlooked.
Well, because everybody knows the great enemy of grenades is gymnastics. If you have stellar gymnastics, you can just outmaneuver any explosions.
Yeah, because apparently the enemy of speed is bushes.
Yep.
And then the enemy of bushes is grenades, and the enemy of grenades is gymnastics.
Bushes are really the true power in the 40k universe.
Is there a bush god?
We can't keep. We've already found one other chaos god. The bush god will have to wait for another time.
So I was reading through the unit entries, and it was kind of interesting. I was like, well, I want to have the black Banshees in there somewhere, like, because their normal colors are like these like deep blue colors, and then not like a Ladic where it's like more of like an aqua blue. Mm-hmm. This is more like a pale blue kind of color, and then they have white helmets. But with the fluff background with Morai Hag and like her special elite, like I wanted to have them in there. So I took a pale court as the core, and if you don't know what a pale court is something that Jay is very familiar with.
I love the pale court, everybody.
It's basically a replacement for a Guardian Host and their Decurion from the 11th Imperial Armor book.
Yep.
The Doom of Mimira.
A book that a lot of people who don't play Eldar really don't like,
Yes.
for a lot of good reasons.
Yep. Yeah, I also didn't realize, like, I didn't read into it enough to realize that they don't just get, like, that pale court. Like, they have, like, a very different version, and then they have to like swap out 2 aspects to make it. So what I chose to use was the pale court, basically the standard one that most people use, which is you swap out the HQ for an Autarch, and then you swap out the standard troops for aspects.
Right.
So you have 3 units of 10 Howling Banshees in the pale court. They all have an exarch, because the exarch actually is good against certain things. It gives them an auto -2 to enemy leadership.
Wow.
Which you think about it like that against even things like, say, Tau, like a Riptide, like it automatically puts them at 7 before combat happens.
Yeah, and you can, that can mess them up pretty bad. That makes,
non-fearless units, like that's actually nasty.
Yeah, that's true.
And then as well, I didn't realize that they have access to this, but the Exarchs can take an Executioner, which is a strength +2 weapon with AP2.
It's not bad.
Which is actually pretty good with the amount of attacks they have. So that's like the standard. And the reason why this is important, to get all the Banshees, like this was a long debate with myself of how to get these in the proper sequence, because originally it was just 2 aspect hosts allied to a CAD. And the reason I think that's the worst choice than taking the Pale Court, losing the +1 weapon skill and the re-rolling leadership from the aspect host for just the standard group of Banshees is because that auto 6 run.
Ooh, that auto 6 is so good.
So that makes for them an auto 9-inch run. That makes their
pretty
standard
nice.
Standard movement of 15 inches is nothing to scoff at. Like, they're fast.
They are super fast.
And then the fact that they also have a 3-inch on their charge and fleet. Like,
do they get a 3 on their move too?
It's a 3-inch. No, it's not their move.
Not their move. Okay.
It's just their run and their charge.
I'm thinking of robot ninjas.
You're thinking about robot ninjas with Doomstrider.
Yep.
But these are, I mean, they're still good because they still have a minimum charge of 5. They also will have their move, and I mean, shuriken pistols. They can still do work against anything in the game.
They
basically.
can. AP2 on 6s, baby.
So that's the standard. It's just the Pale Court. Then I took an aspect host of 3 sets of Banshees. So 30 more Banshees and 3 more squads of 10. So there are 60 Banshees in this list.
God. 60 Banshees in any list.
And these are the Moray Hag Elite. Like, these are the +1 weapon skill. They reroll all their leadership tests. Like, the reason this is like the better unit, better set of units, is because they have greater staying power. Now, aspects in general have leadership 9, which is good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the same as Marines with sergeants, but like, they don't even need their exarch for it. Like, they always just have leadership 9, which is excellent. Now, these guys get their rerolls, plus they also have higher weapon skill
because of that aspect host.
Yes, and then like all Eldar, they're naturally fast. They have high initiative, and they have a number of attacks and power weapons. Now, Jay is automatically going to be like, but what about the Bane of Banshees, which is...
Is it Strength 3, Andrew? Is it because they don't have Furious Charge, and they're Strength 3 with power weapons?
It may or may not because they have Strength 3.
Ah, right.
Now, here's the interesting thing. I did not realize we're going to jump straight to the Avatar. The Avatar gives everyone around him Fearless, Furious Charge,
What?
and Rage.
Whoa, wait a second. Wait, what? I didn't know he gave those extra 2 things. I knew he did the Fearless thing for sure.
They put that in this codex when they made him a Lord of War, and no one looked at it.
Just like nobody looked at a couple of those other units.
Yeah, so he gives them Furious Charge.
I didn't realize
He gives them, the ones that don't reroll their leadership, Fearless. And he gives them all Rage, so they get 2 attacks when they charge.
I see the dots that you're connecting now.
So him actually combined with the Banshees, they can, and there's 60 of them. Like,
oh, how can I forget? 60 Banshees.
there's 60 of them, and they move 15 inches a turn without charging. Like, they're fast. They're almost as fast as Swooping Hawks.
That is just madness.
And they have power weapons base. If they're within range of the Avatar, they'll have Furious Charge, which means, remember, that means the Executioner Exarchs are Strength 6 on the charge with
And
AP2.
Knowing from using Striking Scorpions, Strength 6 AP2 is the shit.
Strength 6 AP2 add initiative with 2 bonus attacks for charging because they have Rage.
It's pretty good.
And I was like, could these guys actually do work? Because that means, like, even against bikes, they're still only rolling 5s. But that's the thing, like, over Striking Scorpions that they have is beyond the Scorpion Claw, they just have their chain swords, which makes them Strength 4 but no AP. Whereas all the Banshees are base AP3. So suddenly they're giving Marines no saves.
No, not at all.
So that's like a good core, but like at that point I was like, well, how do I deal with transports and things like that? Because they need support. They also need distraction. Like, the enemy just needs to see the Banshees, see that there's 60 of them, and just be like, well, they're Banshees. How much can they do?
They're just garbage Banshees.
And the Avatar is actually better than I thought he was stat-wise. He still suffers from the same problem of no grenades, which is just like the worst thing for monstrous creatures because he's got fucking initiative 10, which is just
Look,
like...
a giant lava monster, just, God, man, bushes. They're just so wily, and they just mess with you, man. They get caught in your feet, and you just can't swing at anything.
But he does, it's actually funny. He actually has Strength 8 now in combat. They gave the Wailing Doom now +2 Strength, so he is Strength 8.
Which is nice. And
he is Armor Bane. he's initiative 10 and he's weapon skill 10, which means he will kill knights like it's his job.
Yeah.
So he's an easy counter for knights. You just send him at the knights, and he's a 3+ save with demon and 5 wounds, I believe, or 6 wounds, I can't remember. But like enough resilience that like he can get there. Not so much that like you can just leave him alone, and that'll add into what I gave later. But like he still also has his melt a shot.
Yeah.
And he's got a lot of attacks.
I think his BS is 10, isn't
He's
it?
weapon skill 10, ballistic skill 10, initiative 10.
Yeah, he's like, I mean, he's
He can't miss.
He's 2+2+.
He is full twin linked without twin linked.
And then if you roll 2 1s in a row, he physically comes alive on the table and kills you.
Yes.
For failing him. It's a pretty fucked up rule, but pretty awesome when you get to see it in action.
That's what you get for rolling snake eyes.
That's for the God of War. Hell yeah.
Which is why I can't ever use him.
No, exactly. For the fear of your life.
Exactly, but he also the thing that's interesting about him is he still has all of his immunities to flames, and
which is just such a fun fluff rule for the Avatar, because he should. Like, if you're shooting him with fire weapons, he is a walking fire monster.
Well, and they gave him one little added thing, which is he's now also immune to soul blaze,
which it's soul fire, and he's like a demon fire creature,
he's an avatar of a god.
Yeah,
so
makes sense.
So he's actually a lot better than I thought he was, and he's only 195 points, which comparatively, when you look at that and you're like 195 points, it's still a lot. When you look at that compared to like Gazkul or like a ton of like corn demon things, that like he's like an equal challenge to a fucking bloodthirster in combat, but less expensive. Like the common bloodthirster is like 300 points minimum.
Now, bloodthirster or bloodthirster?
Bloodthirster.
Ooh, now what about a bloodthirster?
A bloodthirster, on the other hand, is like 5 points.
Yeah, you're right. Pretty good.
He's actually making the Banshees pretty fucking good.
I mean, Rage and Furious Charge, I didn't think about that. That's like, pretty fun.
That gives them, especially since there's 60 of them, like it gives them
so many Banshees.
That's such a serious buff to them. The +2 attacks and the +1 strength, like suddenly their strength problems.
It's like an Eldar Wog.
Oh, and the best part is that he never, it's just always on.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't ever have to do anything. And like I said, the one thing I was worried about with the basic Howling Banshees is they have pistols, but they're only a close combat unit.
Yeah.
And if they
run power weapons, and at strength 4, that's freaking great.
Yeah, with 4 attacks per Banshee on the charge at weapon skill 5. Yeah,
it's pretty amazing.
That cuts through like most elite units that aren't armor 2+, which then you also have, I think, either a 5 or a 6 attack executioner going after
which is going to go after that, and they minus your leadership, so if you're fighting Riptides, that's going to help you out quite a bit.
Oh yeah, that's the that right there is one of the best parts, is that if you get them to Riptides, one, the Riptides can't overwatch against them because Banshee's Mask
is pretty awesome. That's why you see them a lot on Autarchs for assault units. They are such an amazing counter to that wascally Overwatch.
Yeah, I mean, anytime just the 90% of the army denying Overwatch, like that hurts a lot of things. And then like they still have 4+ armor saves, so they're still not just instant killed outright by smart missile systems, like the best weapon in the fucking game. So they actually are a match for things like Riptides. Like they can get there because they're fearless, remember. So you got, as long as the Avatar's alive, they're fearless. In their aspect host, they have reroll leadership. So with leadership 9,
just
so
basically bubble them around the Avatar and just walk up the field,
and
essentially.
Have the exarchs in back so that they're last ones to die. And it's like, you gotta fucking kill all of them.
Now, who else is in the army that is supporting these Banshees and Avatar on their march of war?
All right, so you had to have some kind of way to kill transports. A way to challenge things like knights and stuff at long range,
right?
And there's just another way to really like be the objective grabbers, and like the easiest solution, because we have to take a CAD, of course, is scat bikes.
Yeah, they're pretty good at that stuff.
So there are 4 units of 3 scat bikes. What that does is that's first turn transport hunting. That's side armor against knights and things like that. I actually was like, oh man, this army has a problem with like Wraith Knights. They really don't fucking at all, because 1, all the shuriken shots, and 2, the executioner can hurt, and 3, there's a fucking avatar there. Like it really doesn't care about a single Wraith Knight at
and also
all.
There's 60 fearless Howling Banshees, so like if you tar pit 1 or tar pit it with 2,
kill all of them, or they're still there.
That's still kind of like worth it. Yeah, they're not gonna run.
I mean, I would absolutely sacrifice, if you really needed to, you could throw all 3 of the Pale Court units of Banshees into the Wraith Knight and just be like, you got to get through 30 bodies.
And they're fearless.
Yeah,
that's pretty annoying for the Wraith Knight.
Yeah, I mean, like any super heavy like that, when you have fearless blobs and like 60 of them, like that's a lot. Remember, it is also giving Fearless to everybody else in the army, not just the Banshees that are within range of him. So
Scat bikes are no longer running if you kill one of them.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty great.
that first turn, like that army can actually withstand a first turn alpha strike pretty hard because they just surround the Avatar, and unless they kill the Avatar, then like everything's just gonna be getting Fearless. Constantly.
And they survive the first turn because the entire other army is laughing hilariously because they see 60 Banshees.
60 Howling Banshees.
and an Avatar. They're like, I don't know what this is, but it is clearly a joke.
The other thing that I wanted to take in specifically the Pale Court, or the Eldar Decurion, is they have the Living Legend where you can take a Phoenix Lord. I had to take Janezar.
Of course
It's
you
a
do.
Howling Banshee army.
And oh my god, I mean, you know what? You hit the trifecta. You've made an Eldar list that has Howling Banshees, a lot of them, an Avatar, and a Phoenix Lord.
Yep.
That is the trifecta of try to make this work, Eldar.
Another reason that the going against a Wraith Knight is actually hilarious is because if you assault it with the Janezar unit,
You can disarm his giant
you
D
take the
sword.
D sword off of him, and suddenly no more D.
And he's just like, wait a second, wait, no. And then you're just smacking him with a bunch of Banshees.
And that's what I was saying, like, the Avatar, actually, when it's a D guy, like, you can actually throw the Avatar into him as long as Janezar is also there, because you disarm the D weapon, and he's just a strength 10 guy.
yeah, and the Avatar's just smacking him around.
Just wham, wham, wham.
That's the thing. People don't realize this. Janezar's disarm is really good against a model that has like a single, like a D Thirster or a D Knight. Like any D-based weapon units, like just get shut down by that disarm.
I mean, think of even just like Marine bikes. Like, you can just challenge fucking Khan and
Be like,
take
nope,
away
your
his
sword's gone, bye.
Your instant death weapon's gone.
But what? And it's like, yeah, sorry, smackety smack, smack, smack,
Yeah,
smack.
it's like, oh no, I have one less attack, but I'm a 2+ save, and you no longer have a power weapon that deals instant death, and I ignore your armor. And it's just like, okay, yeah, that's actually really strong.
pretty good.
Yeah, and the reason that she had to be in the Pale Court is because she also has battle focus, and I had to make sure that she keeps up with the Banshees
Of
with the
course.
auto 6.
Of course.
Whereas then the Eldar CAD, as we said, 4 units of scat bikes.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta have it. Way to deal some ranged combat, way to deal with transports, stuff like that, so then the Banshees can just go to fucking town.
Right.
A Farseer on a Skyrunner. The reason I added the Farseer in here, I actually didn't need to have it. I could have just taken like Janezar as like the HQ for the CAD and then not gotten the 6, but oh well, like she still has fleet, she could still keep up. But the reason I took the Farseer is because the Farseer is actually a stopgap to help the Avatar.
Interesting.
Because you could either roll on Runes of Fate and get something like Fortune,
Yep.
or you could roll on
Telepathy
and get invisibility, which would also help the Avatar.
Yeah, because that's the one thing. The Avatar is a big linchpin for the army, so you want to protect the crap out of him.
Now, granted, like I said, he's resilient to most things. Like, even like if you go against a Grav army, it's like, okay, you can send all of your Grav against him. He still gets saves against it, even if he's in cover, and then you're hitting him. And then there's 60 Banshees about to eat everything that has Grav in front of you.
Pretty much.
Because the max rating Grav that even like Marines have is 24, which means that you're getting charged by Banshees.
Yeah,
like,
pretty
there's
much.
just no way around it. It's like, okay, you killed the Avatar. You spent your entire army coming in to kill the Avatar.
There are Banshees in my face now.
Now there are 60 Banshees eating the rest of
With
you.
power weapons.
Yeah, they all have power weapons. So that's it. Actually, that's the entirety of the army.
This is... Oh my god, I never thought I'd see the day where we'd do a list that was Avatar, Banshees, and a Phoenix Lord.
Yep.
That is crazy. Sir, I'm gonna do this, and I don't do it often, but I'm gonna give you a nice little slow clap. There you go. Now, this list sounds ridiculous, and I don't know if 60 Banshees even exist in the world. Like, I
yeah.
think there's one box sitting at GW headquarters. Like, I wonder if anyone's going to buy this single box.
I mean, maybe our fan Wild Hunt has 60 Banshees just waiting.
Wild Hunt, if you can make this list, you are a champion, and we will give you the biggest shout out. Now, what is this list called?
It was actually hard to come up with a name for this because the Crone, the Moraheg, is like notoriously quiet, whereas all the Banshees are like screaming constantly. But then Janezar is known as the Storm of Silence, so it was just like, what the fuck?
The duality of Howling Banshees.
But what I ended up calling the list was the Chorus of Screams.
Ooh.
Because not only are you screaming like a howling banshee all the time,
But they all have a really great harmony.
great harmony.
Great harmony.
And you're also screaming because you're the opponent and you're just like, howling banshees, I can't wait.
Wow.
Because that's what I would do.
Yeah, I would be very excited to see 60 Howling Banshees on the table.
And then how embarrassing when they just like roll
when they
over.
destroy you. Well, guys, that was episode 27 of Roll to Seize. We'll be posting a new episode of this segment every last Wednesday of the month, with Dark Heresy episodes kicking off next week on the first and second Wednesday, and 40K Arena every third Wednesday. And if you'd like to download more episodes or check out other similar podcasts, head over to partialarc.com. You can email us any questions at rolltoseize@gmail.com, or chat with us on dakadaka.com and help decide the next Brown Library segment. Search for fluffy/underrated units in the 40K general discussion forums. Of course, you can always follow us on Twitter and Instagram for tournament and model picks at Partial Arc. Thanks for listening, and your fun fact for this month is...
So it turns out that Banshees have, like, the best barbers in all of the 40K
They
universe.
really do!
They have so much red hair.
And beautiful hair. Do you think it's Pantene, Bro V?
Well...
Is that still going on in the 40K Millennium?
You know what's actually kind of ironic is that them having red hair, like, implies Scottish, and the Banshee is a Scottish myth.
It's almost like they're connected somehow. Will we find out? No!